Hello everyone, welcome to this video about ear training. And I know I made an earlier video about this, which was quite controversial. I will get into it in a minute. But in this video, I'm going to give you not so much an updated opinion on it, but a more practical opinion, as it were. Coming right up. If you're new to this channel, this is your first video, then I will update you a little bit on what I'm doing on this channel. But if you're a regular viewer and you're wondering why I have a art stop today and not a gypsy jazz guitar, because I was in the middle of this Django in Rome series, it's because the simple reason is I don't have any more good sounding strings. All my acoustic guitars have dead strings and I didn't have spare strings anymore. So yesterday I ordered a bunch of new strings and they'll be here tomorrow. So today I couldn't really make a video on one of those guitars. So I figured, you know what, why not do a video on art stop, and why not revisit a topic that has caused me a lot of grief in the last year, I think, because I made a video about it. It was a unscripted video. I didn't really prepare it. I was just ranting for a half hour about how ear training is overrated and people are spending too much time on it. And then that video became my most watched, but also my most downvoted video, with hundreds of comments and even personal messages from people. Well, most people actually really liked the message, and I got some really nice comments even from some famous jazz musicians telling me that they thought I was right. But I also got a lot of hate messages, even some people claiming that I was trying to ruin the education of young jazz musicians, maybe with a heinous motive of not wanting them to become any good, something like that, which is ridiculous. It was totally not my point. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna make a new video. And I made a kind of a script even, it's right in front of me, which is not normal. If you're new, I never edit my videos. It's all one take. I never redo the playing. If I screw up, I screw up. And I plan to do some playing in this video too, because I didn't play in the last video. I will in this video, to show you what I mean when I talk about certain issues. So I'm going to talk about three things. I'm going to talk about my thought process during soloing. I'm going to talk about what I think a good solo should consist of, or the minimal requirements of a good solo. And then the last thing I'm going to talk is heuristics, and that is tied to the way I think about a guitar neck. And then while I'm talking about that, I will be talking about ear training. And you will see that ear training has no part in all of this, in any of this. And that is why I have the opinion that ear training is really not important to play jazz. So I'm not saying that you should have bad ears. I'm not saying you should have good ears. I'm just saying it is of no importance while learning jazz. It's great if you have good ears. Lucky you, or maybe you worked hard on it and that is great. My ears are, I don't know, intermediate. I really don't care because I never use my ears while I'm playing. I do use them, of course, but not for the things that people tend to think of when they talk about ear training. Because when they talk about ear training, they're talking about hearing lines or singing the lines in your head, or, I don't know, hearing the chords or hearing the exact voicings someone else is playing in your backing. Like, is it a 9, is it a flat 9? Those things I never do. And you be the judge if you hear me play a solo, I just played one, if you think it sounds like jazz, yes or no. If it doesn't, then my opinion should have no value to you, of course. If you think it does sound like jazz, then you might want to listen to what I have to say, and then you can agree with it or not. So in the end, of course, it's just one guy's opinion, my opinion, and my opinion is just my opinion. It's not the truth. It might be very far from the truth. So if you disagree with me, please let me know, but let's try to keep it civil. I have no intent to ruin the education of young jazz musicians or whatsoever. It's just my experience as a working jazz musician. So let's start with the first topic, which is my thought process during soloing. So when I'm soloing, I'm thinking about 4 things, and I listed them here. So the first thing is, I have to know the chords of the song I'm playing. So I was just playing There Will Never Be Another You, right? If you would ask me, can you write down the chords of There Will Never Be Another You? It would be easy for me. I wouldn't have to think about any of the chords. It would just be like E flat, 2-5 to C minor, or I could say the full chords, D half diminished, G7, C minor, 2-5 to A flat, right? B flat minor 7, E flat, A flat minor or D flat 7, E flat, C minor, F7, 2-5 to E flat. So I could say all the chords like this, right? That's the first thing I have to know when I'm playing a song, at least for me, right? I couldn't play a solo when I don't know the chords. So this is about knowing. That's not about hearing the chords. I know the chords. I know the harmonic structure over this song. And I know the harmonic structure of every song I play. And if I don't know the harmonic structure, I will sound like shit. I can tell you right now. So the second thing is that I have to know what kind of lines would fit those chord progressions. Sometimes what would fit one chord, right? So for instance, if I have this F7 in There Will Never Be Another You, I know that it's very nice to play this sound with the sharp 11. Right? I don't think sharp 11, but I know lines that incorporate that note. Right? I know these lines. So how do I know these lines? I know these lines not because I hear them in my head. I know these lines because I've practiced these lines when I transcribe solos. So now people say, well, when you transcribe solos, and I really transcribe them, I write them down. I write them down in notes and tab. And then when I practice, I only care about the tab. I don't care about the notes anymore because we're playing guitar here, and once I know a line, I know the fingering, I can shift it all around the neck. I don't need to know the notes for that. I just need to know what chord it would fit over. So right, if I would play F7 line, right, then, and I know this works from F7, maybe I transcribed it from another musician, or maybe I transcribed the line and I adapted it, then I can just shift it to any other fret, and I would have to know what the chord is there, and then that's it. But to get back to having good ears to transcribe, yes, of course, when you transcribe, you need to know the note, to hear the notes, but this can be a very slow process. It was for me in the beginning, was very slow, right? Note for note. And it's very easy now. You have software for that, like Transcribe or any other software that can slow down the music without changing the pitch. So you can go note by note, right? And then I write them down in the correct rhythms. That is something that I find easy to notate rhythms. But Lots of people find that very difficult, but then you could just notate the notes, right? And then just listen to the original recording to get the rhythms, right? Or you don't notate it, you just maybe make a recording with your phone to have a collection of lines. So anyway, I take these lines from other recordings and then I practice them endlessly on different songs, right? So I would practice a line like this on different songs anytime there is a dominant chord on the second degree, right? So we're in E flats F7. So when I play, take the A train, I could play, I would practice it to play it there, and I would do it with many songs. So all the lines I play, those are lines that I transcribed from a source. And then people say, well, but then what is original? Well, first of all, the combination of lines, because I'm not taking all the lines from one source. I'm taking these lines from many sources. And I combine them. So in the end, something will be created that has never been created before, right? This combination of lines. And also, I start changing the lines rhythmically, embellishing, maybe play only the last part of the line, the first part of the line. I don't know, I can do anything with those lines I want, and I practice that very deliberately. If you watch any of my other videos, you see me do that, and I will demonstrate it too. I practice varying the lines very deliberately, and sometimes during improvisation, something might happen that I've never done before, but it's always based on some kind of line I know. So for this, I also don't need to do ear training, right? I know these lines, and I know the fingerings of the lines. I don't know the notes. I know what it feels like on the guitar neck. The third thing I think about is what I call the Van Hemert system, right? My name is Christian van Hemert, and I never took guitar lessons. I'm basically self-taught. So I needed to find a way to familiarize myself with the fretboard. And I didn't know that there were systems out there like caged and 3 notes per string, pentatonic scale boxes, stuff like that. I figured out my own system, which is the Van Hemert system, which I won't explain now, but I made a whole video about it. It's linked. That is another integral part of my playing. So, because that's how I know where to move my hand to find the lines I have to play on the chords that I know of the song. And then the fourth thing, which might be, I wouldn't say the most important thing, but a very important thing is I listen for 2 things. For the sound I'm producing. Is the sound good, right? Is it too trebly? Is it round enough? Do the notes sound, am I muting notes that I shouldn't mute, right? Is the sound what I want it to be? Do I want it to be aggressive? Do I want it to be sweet? Do I want it to be percussive? So I can change things in my technique on the spot to get the sound that I'm looking for. And I'm listening for the timing. And that is very important. So I'm listening to the rhythm section to feel their quarter notes, so I can time my 8th notes on top of it. And I have a whole systemic approach to practicing that timing aspect. I made a video about it. I will link it in the description. So that is the only thing I'm really actively listening for while I'm playing. I'm trying to listen to the backing track or the live musicians to see how my 8th notes would have to fit on their quarter notes, so that the timing is attractive in some way, whatever way I want it to be. Mostly, of course, it has to swing. So let's look at those 4 points and give some demonstration. Right. So let's take this song, There Will Never Be Another You. Now I prepared some tab for you, which I always do in my videos, but I didn't do in that earlier ear training video. And these are lines that I transcribed, and I just compiled some of them, and maybe we'll look at some of them. So this first line, for example, is a Django Reinhardt line that he plays on a G7 chord. Right, so let me just play it for you once. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I can analyze this line, right? I could say, oh, it's Phrygian to diminished arpeggio, but I generally don't do that. I just remember the fingerings. Really like, oh, 4, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 3, 1, 4, 3. Oh, that's easy. Two times 4, 3, 1 in a row. I make a mental note of that. Going to this low B, and then it's a diminished arpeggio up. And diminished arpeggio is something I play all the time. So, alright, so I would practice that line on a backing track. Maybe I make a loop of G7 or different dominant chords. But then I would also try to vary the line. So, for instance, let's see what we can do. For instance, what I could do is, because it's so long, and when do I ever have a G7 for 4 bars? Maybe I could play part of the lines in triplets to make the line shorter. Oh, you know what? I have this 4, 3, 1, 4, 3, 1. That's easy to play triplets. Let's try to play the diminished arpeggio also in triplets. So the F is the 1, so I have to stop there. Let's play the whole line in triplets. Stuff like that. Or just play the second half, just play the diminished arpeggio up. Or the scale down. Or change the scale down a little bit. Let's say B. Stuff like that. And then I will take a backing track and we'll just play this line. On any chord it would fit. So G7 to C minor, I could do it. I could try to play it on A flat, E flat 7 to A flat. Right, let me try a little bit. So you see there, I was on E flat 7, and then I just played the D arpeggio. I skipped the... So that's how it would work with all the lines I practice. So in the end, the lines, they transform, they become their own thing. And at a certain point, I wouldn't even remember that I'm playing something that is from Django. I played that line so many times that it's just part of my playing. So that's what I mean with lines. And so do you see, so until now, I haven't used my ears once. I mean, not in the sense that people think about, like, oh, hearing the lines inside. People ask me, do you hear the lines that you play? Well, I don't know. I know what the lines are going to sound like before I play them because I practice the lines endlessly, right? And so I also would know what the combination is going to sound like because I know what the lines sound like very well. I know what which chords they fit over. So if I make a certain combination, I already know it's going to sound good because they fit the chords. Okay, second topic. What do I think a solo should consist of, a jazz solo? So for me, it's two things. I'm reading here. First thing is, you should be able to hear the chord progression, the harmony, without a backing track, right? And let me demonstrate that. So I'm going to play There Will Never Be Another You, no backing track. Okay, here we go. 1, 2. I don't know if you could hear it, but I can very clearly hear the chord progression. And the reason is because all the lines I play, they fit specific chords and they outline them in a very specific way. And I'm attracted to lines that sound like that, right? That's why I think it's important. I'm attracted to lines that outline chords in a certain way. It could be a very free way, it could be bluesy, it could be with a delay, it could be anything. But I can always tell what the chord is I'm playing over. So again, I don't need ear training for that. I just need to know which lines make that happen. Okay, the second aspect of a solo, I think, should be you should try not to repeat yourself too often, right? If I have a line like this, let's say for B flat 7 that goes like this, I shouldn't then also play that on E flat 7 and on F7. I mean, you have to listen. So what it means, you have to listen to yourself all the time and evaluate. Okay, I'm ending up right here. I know a couple of lines, but I played that one line I can see on the neck. It's more about seeing even. I played it already like 2 times. Maybe you should try to either vary the line or play another line. And if I don't have any lines anymore, it's time to end the solo, or it's time to practice more lines that would fit that chord or chord progression. In the beginning, that's how it is, right? It is, you have holes. I call it holes, right? Oh yeah, I can play on 2-5-1. I have trouble playing on a turnaround, or I have trouble playing on a 4 minor chord. I have trouble playing on Christoph changes. So you have to plug those holes by practicing more lines that would fit that kind of progression. Okay, third topic, last topic, is something I call heuristic. And a heuristic is, you could describe it as a mental shortcut to solve problems that would normally require a lot of thought. And it's not possible to think about those problems when you're playing in real time. So, and the problem here is I'm talking about chord progression. Oh, this is a very difficult chord progression. What am I going to play on that chord progression? I don't have time to make deep theoretical analysis on the spot and then decide what I'm going to play. So for me, it comes back to the beginning. It comes back to that my lines are tied to chord tone. So, for instance, when I have to play a line on, let's take this line. Let's take another line. I have more lines for you. Let's take a line like this. Okay, so this is a 2-5-1 line to E flat, like this. Sounds like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Sorry, 3, 4, 1. So this line is tied to chord tone on F minor, A flat. Why? Because it starts on A flat. I mean, there's one note before, but I see kind of this shape. So this line, this fingering, this movement of the fingers, and also the picking pattern is tied to having my 4th finger on the 3rd of this chord. It's F minor, and the 3rd is A flat. So I don't have to think about anything else. I have to, if I want to play this line, I have to put my 4th finger, or actually what I'm doing is I put my 1st finger on the root, and then the 3rd of F minor will be on my 4th finger. So if I have to play this line on a 2-5-1 in C, I put my 1st finger on the D, right? I want to play it in A flat. Why? Because I put my 1st finger on the root of the 2 chord, B flat minor, and my 4th finger on the D flat. I don't have to hear the line for that. I don't have to know the notes in the line. I don't have to even know what I'm doing. I know this line is great to play on a 2-5-1. It's a very attractive line with a bluesy ending. That's the stuff I know about it. And to play it, I have to put my 1st finger on the root of the 2 chords. So the heuristic, there's a couple of things going on here, right? The first thing is that the line that I'm playing is tied to a chord tone, and the chord is tied to knowing an actual chord name, right? So I'm really thinking F minor 7, right? Sometimes when people say 2-5-1 to E flat, that would work for me just do it as a shortcut. But if I play a solo, I'm actually thinking F minor 7 because I have a bunch of lines that are tied to knowing the notes in F minor. So the lines are tied to chord tones. The chord tones are tied to actual chord names. That's why when I have to play in a different key, it's not going to go automatic. I have to actually know all the chords, the chord name. So it's much easier for me to write it down so I can see the new key, the chord, the names. Once I see it, it's easier for me to remember it, and then I can recite the new chord names in my head, and then the lines will be automatic because I've practiced that hundreds of times. And then the last thing is that often I simplify progressions. So for instance, the end of There Will Never Be Another You, where it goes E flat, D7, G minor, C7, or you could play G minor, D7, G minor. But anyway, for me it's just E flat, C7, F minor, B flat, E flat, or E flat, C7, B7, B flat 7, E flat. So, how do you find those simplifications? That's knowing a certain part of theory. I made some videos about it, where you see substitutions, chord substitutions, where you can see what the original chords should be, right? So for instance, another example would be if you have a song like Night and Day. This goes like D minor, D half diminished. Now let's see. D half diminished. See, and now comes F sharp, half diminished. F minor, E minor, E flat diminished to 5/4. That's difficult for a lot of people, but for me, that simplification of that is just D7. So now just D7, G7, C, B7 altered, D minor, G7, C. So D7, G7, C is easy for me to play. Then it's B7 altered, or I could think D7 again, D7 altered. Then it becomes very easy. Then it becomes. All right, so I understand that you wouldn't be able to simplify changes on the spot. It takes some time, but I made videos about it. And because in the end, there's only 3 chords, major, minor, and dominant chords, and there's only 3 functions: a tonic, a dominant, and a subdominant. And anyway, I don't want to get into that into this video. But as you can see, for all of this process, this whole process, I don't need any note recognition, singing of lines, or knowing anything about the chords that other people are playing. As long as we agree we're all playing the same song, it really doesn't matter what kind of voicings they're playing. My lines are not, because the chords will be it's a horizontal moment in time, right? It's like, or vertical, like bam. And my lines are horizontal. They are outlining a harmony with moving notes. So it really doesn't matter if they're playing a flat 9 and I'm playing a 9, or the other way around. Right? My lines are moving, so it actually wouldn't help me to hear it. If I would hear it and have to change all my lines on the spot, then it would ruin the beauty of the lines. So actually I prefer not to hear it. Okay, so I figured maybe to end this video, I don't know how long I'm recording, but I'm gonna play another song. Let me play I'll Remember April. By the way, these are backing tracks. They're free on my channel. I will put a link to the playlist. So this is I Remember April, right? So G 4 bars, G minor 4 bars, and 2/5. A half diminished D7 and B half diminished E7, and then 2/5 to G again. And it's a bridge 2/5 to B flat 2 times, 2/5 to G, 2/5 to E, and then it's the A part again. So I'm gonna play like 8 bars, and then I'm gonna stop and just tell you what my thought process was. Well, I'm gonna play 16 bars because I'll start with a little bit of the theme to get our mind into this song. Okay, so if I remember correctly, I was playing, let's say from the A half diminished, I was actually playing A minor 7 instead of A half diminished, but I went to this line. That's just a line, it's an easy line to play on a 2/5. And I went to, that is a line for E7 that comes from my video Flow Like the Pro, something like that. I will find the video and put a link where I talk about playing fifth dominant scales on dominant chords. And then I thought, you know what? Go to the tritone of D, A flat 7, and then just play diminished up. That's the standard line for G major, okay? Let's do that again. I'll try to play this more or less the same thing, and then I'll do the bridge. Okay, first I played this 2/5 lick, I know. Then I went to G7. But that's a typical, really easy phrase for G7. And then I thought, you know what, it's time for some blues. It comes from my repository of blues licks, played when I'm with my first finger on the root of the key I'm in, so B flat. I could have played. Or I mean, there's a lot of blues stuff I can do there. Then what I did do then? I went to a 2/5 in G. Yeah, first I thought, you know what, let's play. But then I figured, you know what, that's just a 2/5 lick I have. And then I jumped, which I rarely do, but I jumped because I really wanted to play this lick, which is a lick for B7 when I have my first finger on the third. So I jumped, which I try to avoid because that sounds very jumpy, right? But if you do it sometimes, it's a nice effect. So let me play from the beginning, and I'll try to play the same bridge, and then I'll play the last A, and then I'll talk about that, and then it's the end. You see, so I mess up. So it is pretty difficult actually for me to try to play exactly the same, because in the end, so that's one thing I didn't talk about. There is a kind of flow it's happening, right? And it's based on where my hand is on the guitar, where I'm at in the bar. So because I didn't, of course, know where I was in the bar last time, because I never play my lines at the exact same beat. So maybe I was a little bit earlier, later, and then sometimes I feel like, no, I shouldn't have made that jump there because it didn't feel correct to do that. So then I messed up. Let me do it again, and I just play another solo. But then, you know, I did try to repeat myself, but it's actually pretty hard to do, especially in this tempo. So if you think that sounds like jazz, then you might consider um, checking out some more of my videos and see my approach. It's a very systematic approach. There's no luck involved. It's very, I wouldn't say easy, but a clear way to practice. And uh, that's why I never talk about ear training, because it's not an issue for me. When I teach at the university. I never talk about ear training. I never test the ears. I really don't give a single. I don't. I don't give a shit about it. And then if you think it sounds like crap what I'm doing, of course, then well, don't spend any more time watching my videos. That's it. Let me know what you think of it. If you disagree, no problem. Let's try to keep it civil, and I hope I see most of you in my next video. Bye.